It's Monday night, and it's time for a Final Fantasy Randomizer community race. We've got 12 runners all lined up at the starting line, ready to go. 4 on stream, waiting for the gate to drop. And the gate just dropped, so we're going to be seeing action on the screen in any moment now. My name is RockSolid84. I'm going to be one of your 2 hosts tonight. Of course, I'm joined in the booth here by Shadowed. Shadowed, how are you doing tonight? What do you expect from these flags?
Well, to answer your first question, it's a Monday. You know what that means. And as for what I'm expecting tonight, I'm expecting a seed to go less than 45 minutes. And I'm going to explain why real quick as our runners start going into Canaria to begin with. Our party is forced. We have 3 forced characters, Fighter, Black Belt, Black Mage, with a Nun in the 4th slot. Experience is 5 times normal, with 20% per key item. With that Black Belt, I see maybe 20 minutes to get a grind of 42, and then you go through your short Topher and blitz through Chaos. Everything else, we'll just play by ear as we go.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. With flags like that, we could be in for a quick race, but a little bit of complication getting started, which is that normal black magic sweeper is not there. We did get some good magic. There was Life 2 there at level 1 white magic, as well as Warp at level 1 black, so those are both things you'll love to have. But without some kind of a sweeper, how do you get started? How do you put some experience together?
Easiest way that I can think of, since you have a few key items that are free locations, Sarda, the Sages, are 2 of the first ones that I can think of. You pick up whatever key items they have. You follow Rob Draven's example and go to Cardia to see what sort of equipment you can pick up for free. And then from there, well, you just take whatever they give you and see what you get.
Yeah, well, and it looks like all of the runners are doing exactly that. Pretty similar paths in most cases. I saw Life Reboot picked up a crystal at the Sarda. So, and also too, here we've got Lit 3, it looks like at level 2 Black Magic, which should be available right from the beginning. So that should help get things going. You could find any monsters with 5 times XP. Why not kill a few imps?
Well, the answer as to why not kill a few imps, if they have Bane or Cremate or something like that, you're in for a rough beginning.
That's right. We are playing the randomizer after all. Imps could have nuke, as has famously been said.
And this is a Danny seed, so imps might be safe. The Spider family, on the other hand, no guarantees.
No, definitely not. So I did notice a pickup of a bassoon there. That's a little bit odd. I think that's going to be one of the fun % flags. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's not necessarily a pickup, as this is Chaos. Easy for me to talk, apparently. Chaos Rush mode, which means you start with the loot in your inventory. In this case, it's a bassoon. That's the multi-instrumentalist Sarah flag, which is one of our fun % flags that turns the loot into any one of about 100 to 150 different instruments and lets you have a little bit of fun carrying around an organ.
Yep, absolutely. And look at that nuke at Crescent Lake, maybe out of reach for this particular class set, depending on how things go. But we are going to get a look at the Circle of Sages. We get a Lock 2 shirt. That's not the best key item to come across. Of course, you do like the ability to cast Lock 2, but whether it's a white shirt or a black shirt, we're not going to be wearing that for a little while.
Looks like it would be a white shirt, given what the incentives are in tonight's pool. The added items to the pool are the Katana, the Power Bonk, which might have a different spell to it, and the white shirt, which, as already noted, is a completely different casting shirt because item magic is shuffled tonight.
Yes, it is. And you're noticing in the shops a lot of crazy item magic out there. I think I saw a Fire 3. There's the aforementioned Lock 2. So at least you'll have the chance to use items to get some of those higher level magic if you're locked out. For example, we don't have a white mage. So we're not going to be able to wear the white shirt as a shirt, and we're not going to be able to cast any of the white magic that's beyond the reach of the knight levels 1 through 3.
Right, and that's on hinging on picking up the tail wherever that might be hiding.
Yeah, we haven't seen that yet. But what we do have on screen is we have simultaneous pirate fights. Rob Draven, of course, taking them out with that Lit 3 sweeper, and Luffy doing exactly the same thing. Of course, it's not much to take out pirates when they're not buffed, which is the case here. Bicky with an adamant, so that's going to be nice because it's an easy turn in, not far away at the dwarf spot. Also noticing houses are pretty cheap. That's something that I personally love to see. Maybe not as big of a deal in this particular seed with such a high gold boost, but I often find myself scrambling for houses, so it's nice when they're under 500 gold like that.
Anytime you can get to heal your MP without having to go back to an inn is usually good times, especially if you can get it cheap.
Yep. So look at this sync. We've got Jay Scheidel and Life Reboot following up Luffy and Rob Draven with the pirate fights. So really just retracing the steps of the runners ahead of them, which is always fascinating to see when you're dealing with a seed that starts you off with an airship. But sometimes runners just tend to be on the same mindset. And we get an herb at the king, it looks like there. And Ice 2 Gauntlet from the Sarah. That's not going to do much. But yeah, I like to see that herb. It's just another turn in. It's another thing to check off the boxes. At this point, it's anybody's game. We don't know. There's no difference in terms of party composition, so that's not going to play into the strategy. There's not much difference in terms of availability of items. So I'm wondering, when's that first big decision going to be as Luffy finds Canoe at the Elf?
Even though this is Chaos Rush mode, we still have to take out all the fiends. So, in my not so experienced opinion, your first major choice is going to be who's going to try for an early grind so they can do all of the fiends in one fell swoop, and who's going to try to take out a fiend early to try to get a little bit of a mental advantage on the rest of the field.
Yeah, fascinating. I do notice that Life Reboot has diverged a little bit. I believe Life Reboot is the only one with a rod so far, and pretty close to the cave. So actually, Earth Cave is a great place to go for two reasons. One, yes, you can go light your orb, but two, there's a couple of trap tiles in the first floor of Earth Cave. So if somebody does want to go with that strategy that you were talking about where they grind up a little bit first, that's a great place to get started.
Oh, without a doubt, especially if you get a good grind tile early. And in this flag set, our trap tiles are shuffled with random locations, so the infamous third eye grind might be a factor if we can find it.
Yes, of course. The third eye grind, of course, being 3 eye encounters all in the same battle. In the vanilla game, the eyes can be pretty scary because they're packed with a couple of instant death spells, but usually in the randomizer, they don't have those, and they tend to just kind of sit there and look at you while you knock them down. I did notice that Life Reboot translated his slab, a good thing to do when you're in Melmond early, but not going to Earth Cave. So, where do you think he's going?
Has he finished Garland yet?
It looks like he hasn't. So there we go. Luffy DV giving us a little shout out to Hooray Dwarf on his way out of the cave. Always a fan favorite.
I'm afraid you'll have to speak for yourself on that one. I'm in the Kill the Hooray Dwarf category, and can't change my mind.
You just got unfriended, sir. That is bad karma.
If it wasn't for bad karma, as they say.
Fair enough. So Jay Scheidel looking for a little bit of gear and actually picking up a Sunsword +3 pretty cheap in Elfland. That's not a check that you see every day, but Jay Scheidel's probably feeling pretty good about it, as that is at the lower end of the final tier weapons.
Well, with that +3, it adds that little bit of extra power to it. I would put that pretty firmly in, if you can't find a mouse immune, there's your endgame weapon. Yeah,
no, exactly. Somebody said in the Discord recently, I forget who it was, but somebody said, temper fixes everything. So, when you've got fast and you've got temper, you could be swinging a wooden stick. I guess eventually you'll get there.
Well, you could, but it's a question of how much time are you willing to invest in it if you're just swinging a lousy stick.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It's certainly not something you want to go in unless you're really looking for swag points. Life Reboot, giving us a little look at another randomizer flag. You'll notice he's been ambushed by Astos in Lefane, of all places. So that's actually the mechanics of the Shuffle Astos flag. The way it works is there is a pool of NPCs that any one of them could be the Astos fight. And Astos himself is just regular old Astos. As you see, Jay Scheidel just went in and picked up his rod without having to do a fight.
And of course, the one moment I turn away from the screen for 5 seconds, Astos makes an appearance. It never fails.
Yeah, no, so of course, it doesn't usually take long to take out Astos in a randomizer. Normally, by the time you see him, you've got very high level spells and it goes down quick. But Luffy, yes, so Luffy's checking those trap tiles we were talking about earlier in Earth and comes across a good one. This is the rock goal grind, and those are worth a boatload of XP.
Yeah, as long as you're able to take them down with a minimum of effort, they're definitely worth it. On Life Reboot's side, you have the Purple Worm Grind, which is a good endgame tile, but it's kind of hard to make any use of it when you can't take them down.
Yeah, and that's always frustrating when you find it just a little bit too early. We're going to get to see another one in just a minute from Rob D. Raven. He's down in the Volcano Armory, which is good for stuff, but also for this trap tile, which is just 3 measly giants. Not the best one to find, unfortunately.
And especially if your black belt is currently looking at the floor.
He's just checking for traps.
We don't have a thief. That shouldn't be necessary.
Well, but that's exactly why the black belt has to do it, you see. He's the backup trap guy, I guess. I don't know. I'm just trying to make this work. So Life Reboot is jumping into the Dwarf Cave. Of course, we've already seen this a few times, but I don't believe we've seen this TNT item yet.
No, we haven't. And there's your katana. So vendor trash tonight.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to use that, unfortunately, without a ninja in our party, so that's just going to be something to sell. Of course, it is always nice to find that because it usually is worth a fair bit, and Life Reboot may sell it immediately after the third turn in, depending on what he's looking for.
Now, going along the same lines here, Jay Shadow just got his TNT from... Hang on, we're going to come back to that thought in a moment. We're about to have a fiend fight down in the lower left-hand corner.
Yeah, lots going on as Jay Scheidel finds a random pack of vampires that he can't handle. That's another experience boat that you'd love to have, but he needs a better sweeper before you can do that. So Carrie's on the screen, and it looks like we're going to be going in here with just the Black Mage and the Fighter. So fortunately, we've got that Lock 2 shirt to pin Carrie down a little bit. And it looks like we're going to go with Confuse strats for the memes. So tell us how the Confuse strats can be helpful against Carrie.
I believe there's some sort of voodoo involved with this, but joke answers aside, Confuse is one of the spells that Carrie is vulnerable to. If you manage to hit her with it, she will attack herself every turn and do basically 10 damage to herself around. It keeps you from having to deal with anything that she might have in her script.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're not so much concerned about the potential for Carrie to do 10 damage to Carrie, but rather, is Carrie holding on to stone poison and potentially using that against our whole party? Well, if she's confused, we're never going to see that. It's just going to be her smacking herself.
True, but if you manage to get Carrie to end up offing herself with that 10 damage, well, it doesn't matter what the race results say. I say you win the race right then and there.
Oh, definitely. I think that's in the rule somewhere. So Life Reboot is going to be diving the ice cave now, and I feel like we've seen somebody go down here, but at the same time, maybe it was Life Reboot earlier. I don't think we've seen the item yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen... Oh, we have seen Warp. It was at level 1. I don't think that we actually got everything completely out of here yet.
Yeah, so we're about to see actually simultaneous checks of this item. Now, the warp spell is really great because it allows you to do what Life Reboot is doing right here, where you jump down the hole and you warp right back up, and you skip the worst part of Ice Cave, skip a number of trap tiles. There's a trap tile in front of the chest, which gives us the Oxy Ale for Life Reboot. But unfortunately, it wasn't anything that is going to be useful in terms of leveling up. We still haven't really seen any very good ones. I think that rock goal in Earth Cave is the best I've seen so far, anyhow.
Yeah, I'd have to concur with that, but even then, they're still a little bit too tanky for my liking, at least not until you get the black belt another 15 or 20 levels.
Yeah, that or get some spell charges on that nuke, which we saw in Crescent. May not have been Black Mage learnable, though. I'm not sure about the slots. That could be part of the reason they're not using it.
Third slot for level 6.
Yes.
I believe that is wizard only, but do not quote me on that.
Yeah, I think it is. But anyways, we've got... this is a funny fight. We've got 2 Grey Sharks and 6 Wizard Sahags. So this is probably one of those funny tiles that you don't normally see, because I'm not used to seeing this fight anywhere.
Yeah, I'd also have to concur with that, but you do have a couple of Lit 3 hammers, so enough persistence.
Yep, and Life Reboot finds an Agama just wandering around in Ordeals. It's another strange find, but usually a pretty good grind. This one seems to have a fair bit of HP, though.
Yep, and here's today's Agama facts for those of you who may be interested. Agamas are known to have coconut oil for a daily snack.
Hey, it's a daily snack, and it's also a home remedy. You can use it for all sorts of balms and tinctures. Very useful. Those Agamas, they know their stuff.
Indeed. Oh, did I just see a steak down in Bob Draven's corner?
You did. There was a T-bone, in fact.
Ooh, the real ones. I like that.
Yeah, well, Rob deciding that steak is not on the menu for today, as his characters are still a little bit low level. This vampire, even though there's just one, at 5 times experience scaling, I'm looking forward to a boatload of XP here. Let's see what we get. Oh, well, 2,000 is worth something.
That seems a bit underwhelming after seeing 16, 17,000s in other screens, but 2,000 is still more than 0.
Yeah, and look at this. Luffy is about to just one-punch this rock goal and get 4 rock goals all dumped into his black belt. So level 43. So yeah, we have Hercules, basically, at this point on that top left screen.
Yep, at this point, Luffy doesn't even have to open any boxes besides anything that might be incentivized. He can just pick up what he needs to and move.
That's right. Jay Scheidel picking up the key in Ordeals at Ordeals Incentive. That's a key find, so to speak, because we're going to need that. I think we're going to need that with the shortened Topher, or maybe we don't, actually.
For Chaos Rush, no, we do not. The key is not required to get into Topher, and with short Topher on, I don't believe you need it anyway.
It's not that door, that last little door where the 7 chests are. That's not a key lock door. I think there is just the one in the vanilla version of the game, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, there's just the one that I'm aware of in vanilla right after the rod lock.
Yeah, exactly. So, this Jay Scheidel giving the wolves a little bit of their own medicine with that Bane. I don't know why, but I feel like wolves always seem to have Bane or Toxic whenever I play the game. So I feel justified with that. Jay Scheidel did jump back in the airship and is headed now down back towards the inner sea. I'm thinking maybe gear is the target. There were some gold bracelets and stuff that we saw. Although, that's right. He got his key in Ordeals, so he's checking to see what's in the Corneria locked area.
Yeah, that's a good call there. That's about the only use the key is going to have in terms of progression, and even then it's only a possibility.
Yep, so we have the ruby in the Corneria locked area, The ruby, of course, being necessary to see what's in Titans, but I'm not sure if Titans is incentivized.
Titans is incentivized tonight. The only locations that are not are both Marsh checks and the 4 Fiend dungeons.
Okay, so that may be where Jay Scheidel heads next. He's actually got a lot of stuff lit up on his tracker, but I don't see a chime there. So that's going to be something he's looking for. And Oxyale is also not lit up. So he'll need those in order to get into the last 2 dungeons and get those orbs lit up.
Let's not forget he is also going to need the cube.
That's right, he will. So still a fair number of things outstanding, even though there's been a number of checks made. I think we're going to see something useful in this Titans incentive. Oh, well, the tail, I guess it's technically useful. It will give him access to that nuke spell. So he may promote sooner rather than later.
Slight clarification on that, as I saw on our notes, thanks to our trackers Jat2980 and Chanigan, Black Mages can learn all the spells in Crescent Lake without needing promotion. So Nuke is already on the table. This just gives the Knight access to levels 1 through 3 in White, including that all-important Life 2 spell.
Okay, and yeah, great clarification from Jat there. So what that'll mean then is Jay Scheidel's going to have to do a little bit of a risk-reward calculation. Well, actually, I say that and he's taking his grind right now. So the thing about promoting is that you don't want to do it too early if you've got a black belt in your party, because the black belt actually gains better magic defense before promotion. So Jay Scheidel's kind of been forced into this situation where he's going to need to get those levels, or at least most of them. But fortunately, he's got the right place to do it here with these iron goals.
Right, as long as he can get the other 2 characters dropped, especially that Knight, because if you get him too high of a level, you're not going to be able to learn any magic.
Yes, that's an excellent point. Again, with the risk-reward calculation, the way the magic levels work is that any character that did not have access to magic, like the Knight or the Ninja, that then gains it after promotion, the way it works is they'll start getting spell charges at level 15, or whatever odd number level you hit after you promote. So let's say that you promote at level 20, you'll get your first charge at 21, and so on and so forth. So exactly right that you don't want to get too many levels, or else you won't get any casts on that Life 2.
Exactly. So at some point, I would not be at all surprised for most of our runners to completely unequip both the fighter and the black mage to make them more vulnerable to being dropped to damage. And then once the black belt is at a point where he can take out everything in one fell swoop, let him go to town.
Yes, I'm sure you're right. And take a look at this, though. We were calling for those short seeds. We were thinking sub 40 minutes. Here we are at minute 22, and, well, some of our on-screen runners have their grind done, but nobody's got all the items they need. So it's going to take a little bit of time just to get those things together. And then, of course, Topher itself has been shortened. So although we still are looking at a fast seed, it looks like the way things have rolled, it's kind of pushing us to do almost all of the checks.
Right, and the one area that I can think of that we haven't gone to yet is the waterfall. So the robot's probably hiding something for the fairy that leads to the cube or the chime, would be my guess.
Okay, you heard it here first, folks. Shadowed is calling robot, holding the bottle, and the bottle leading to progression. Let's see if that one turns out. Of course, Shadowed very talented at these predictions, so don't go to sleep on that. As Rob picks up his item in at Lefane. I remember that there was Astos there, but I can't recall what Astos was holding.
That would be the TNT.
Yes, that's right. A little bit of Sky Warrior old technology, I guess. As Life Reboot heads up to Cardia, looks like we're going to see our first promotion on stream.
Well, Life does have his grind done, so perfect chance to go ahead and do it now and not taking away too much of the magic defense.
Yeah. Luffy, though, as far as I'm aware, has not yet promoted. That'll probably be because he doesn't have the tail, though.
Yeah, that would probably be a good reason.
taking a look at black magic in Gaia, and there was Brack there. Brack is useful if you get it before you face the first fight of Tiamat or Kraken, because they are highly vulnerable to that spell. But with just one caster, it's not necessarily the way you want to go.
Right. That's something I usually reserve if I have 2 or even 3 casters of that spell, because the more chances you get to throw at it, the more likely you are to hit it. It's simple odds.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I usually won't try it unless I've got 3 or I'm really desperate and have no other way to damage it down.
Alright, Lifey Boots making a waterfall play. Let's see if this pays off.
Yep, and we're looking for that bottle. Jay Scheidel is clearing out some of those Cardi Islands. I believe we've seen most of these already, and there's no incentive items in here anyway. Luffy's headed to Ordeals. Gonna find that. Oh geez, I forgot already what was in Ordeals. I knew it was a key. Gonna find the key in there. And Rob D. Raven looks like he's following Life Reboot up into the waterfall. Hoping to find Oxyale, I'm sure. Oh, he's got it.
Well, it's a good play if you already have the Oxyale. You can take care of this check, go right to the south, hit Onrak, and take care of the Sea Shrine in one fell swoop, and you don't have to come back here.
Yeah, I was actually wondering why they were doing it, because I didn't realize they had Oxyale. But now that I know that they have it, yeah, of course that makes sense. You've got 2 incentive areas here. Well, we didn't say that and we got to get the orb anyways while we're here.
Right, and looking at Rob Draven's tracker, I see he has the chime lit, and thanks to our notes from our glorious trackers, Gaia had the vendor item for 11,000, and that was a chime.
Yes, so the vendor item we know, we've got the crystal here from the Life Reboot picks up his crystal from the robot, and maybe Matoya's holding that progression that we thought the fairy would have.
Or the crystal could lead to the bottle. It's still a possibility, but I'll take the loss on this one. I was wrong.
Hey, happens to the best of us crystal ball predictors. As Jay Scheidel heads back into Bravoka, looking for some gold bracelets and maybe a pro cape or 2. Although with the money that he's got, doesn't look like he'll be buying too many gold bracelets.
That gold yeah. Again, I can't speak. Do not mind me. That gold bracelet plus 3 is actually pretty good. That's close to endgame gear, especially if the opal rolls low.
Yep. So Life Reboot, of course, making a beeline for Kraken, followed by Rob D. Raven, right on his tail, and we've got Luffy in that general area as well.
One other thing to note, we didn't point this out while either of our runners were in the waterfall, but there was a ribbon in one of the loose chests near the robot.
Yeah, that's a key find, isn't it? Ribbon, of course, maybe arguably the best defensive item in the game. It doesn't have much in terms of absorb, but it gives you immunity to or resistance to a large number of spells. So it's just really nice to have.
Indeed, and a controversial nice item to have, depending on your stance on it, a Vorpal plus 5 that Rob Draven found.
Yeah, I must confess that I'm not in the Vorpal camp myself, although at plus 5, I mean, it's gotta do something for you.
Yeah, at plus 5, I'd actually consider it over the Mazamune for most of your lower tier enemies, and then when you get up to Fiendry fights, then you switch over.
Yep, and shoutouts to Sardia in chat with the Vorpal emotes. Those are very pretty. And Kraken's on the screen. Now, I'm just noticing this now, jumping back and forth between the screens as we've been doing. That black belt is still down. Are we looking at a 2-man strategy here?
Oh, that's a bold strategy if I've ever seen one with these flags. I'd say at this point, yes, that's exactly what we're looking at.
Now, what's interesting about that is that it means that the experience is going to pile up real high on that fighter, and it's not competing in terms of its melee role with the black belt. So, you get a good sword, you've got that black mage who's going to be able to cast buff spells, and maybe you've got, you don't have to spread out your defensive items as much. There's definitely a case to be made for the two-man party.
Yes, indeed. That certainly is a case. It's just, given the force flags and force party that we were given, I'd almost take the black belt as my one forced melee over the fighter, but that's just personal preference.
Well, no, I'm with you, though, because I just took a look back over the spell list in our trackers here, helping us out, confirming what I suspected, which is that we have not yet even seen Fast or Temper. So how you're going to be able to do that high amount of damage with your fighter when you don't have those important buff spells, I'd be preferring the black belt too.
Right. While we were discussing all that, Life Reboot went up to Matoya, found the bottle, so there's still hope, and from what I can tell on his tracker, the only thing that's left is the cube, so...
Yes, because as you pointed out, the chime is a vendor item, so the cube will be the only item left, and your prediction was almost 100% correct. Look at that.
Well, it's kind of like my old dream job as a child. Meteorologists can't be right all the time. They just have to get pretty close.
That's right. So Jay Scheidel facing some Agamas again. Of course, his party is looking pretty jacked. So it's probably just a random encounter, as he heads down to just blow Lich up into smithereens.
Right, and we won't even get to give Lich his birthday cake tonight. That's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, there's the cube for Life Reboot, getting it from the ferry, as we suspected. So Life Reboot now has full access to Sky and seems to be headed straight there.
I'm going to have to look at Life's level 8 magic when he goes back into it. I think I saw both Fast and Temper at level 8. It might have been a Gaia.
Oh, that is an absolute troll if it is the case. Level 8, of course, has the fewest number of charges that you're going to have. You don't even get any until you get to level 25. And then you've got those spells sharing that pool. So that is just an absolute nasty thing to see when and especially when you're depending on a fighter or some kind of weapon swinging damage dealer.
Exactly, and with the Power Gauntlet turned into something completely worthless, an Ice 2 bonk, that makes it even more painful. Yeah,
and we could have seen, and there we go with Rob D. Raven's screen showing us that Fast and Temper are indeed on level 8, as Sarasan and others are confirming in chat as well. With the random item magic, you're going to lose that Power Gauntlet to something else. What you're hoping is that something else will rotate into Temper or Saber, but I don't think we've seen that.
I haven't seen anything like that, but I did see an either an Invis or an Invis 2 stick somewhere. I forget exactly where and who found it.
Okay, well, Invis sticks are always nice. The great thing about that is normally you've only got one Invis casting item, which is the white shirt. But if it's a rod, especially one that you can buy in a store, then all of a sudden, bam, you've got everybody can cast Invis or a ruse or whatever it might be. So that can be huge in terms of your defense survivability against late game fiends.
Yeah, especially when you get up to Kraken 2. The Gatekeeper is known to just decide, no, your white mage in the back row is not allowed to live.
Oh yes. And look, it's like I always say, the final boss of the game is not Chaos. It's on the water floor. And it's not Kraken, it's the trash encounters on the way to Kraken. I hate that floor.
I would counter with Go Medusas with Death Touch. Those have wiped me out more often than I care to admit.
Oh, and shoutouts to Will Cleosis versus, who was that? There was a great match about a year ago where Topher had Gur Medusas with Death Touch, and they were the most common encounter, and they ambushed. It was an absolute riot to watch them try and deal with that. Fun for us. I'm sure not so much for them.
Of course, anytime we get to laugh at other runners suffering when we don't have to do it, it's always a fun time.
Yes, Bert shouting out in chat that they also had Blaze, just to make things even more fun.
Something nuclear winter something, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Yep. So Luffy heads up and gets his cube from the ferry. That means that he'll be in Sky shortly. As Rob D. Raven crosses the Bridge of Destiny, get your war mech. Oh, he got through. Zardia was championing the war mech appearance, but we didn't get one. Not from Rob D. Raven anyway.
Yeah, with these flags away and how quick they're going, even if Warmech shows up, I wouldn't hold much hope for Warmech standing a chance.
Yeah, that poor robot chicken, when it's stacked up against level 43 plus black belt, it loses some of its fearsomeness, that's for sure.
Indeed.
So Life Reboot in Volcano, that's interesting. It looks like he's the only one who hasn't lit in his fire orb yet, so he'll be looking to take care of that. Does have Earth and Sky done, so after this, he'll be headed straight to the Sea Shrine. That's a quick one. But Rob D. Raven, head and shoulders above everybody else, is just about to go into that shortened Topher for a look at Chaos. Now, we will have the Fiend refights first, as Carry 2 opens up with a nuclear.
I'm having flashbacks all of a sudden to the challenge seed from earlier this week.
Yeah, I didn't play that one. Was there a tough refight?
Lich had nuclear and nuke, Carry had a nuke, and Kraken 2 did Kraken 2 things.
Well, when the Fiends take the Oprah approach to the nukes, it can be a rough day. Tiamat opening up with Crack, that's an Earth Elemental spell that can be troublesome, but not a problem for these Light Warriors. They both took it out, and we're seeing them make short work of Tiamat too.
Well, the way that Rob D. Raven took going Carry Tiamat, he lucked out in that he didn't have to deal with the Gatekeeper.
Yeah, that's right. So he got kind of lucky with Carry and Tiamat, I would say. I'll take those two, sure.
The only way you could get better is Tiamat gets replaced with Lich, but let's not get too greedy.
Yeah, and you never know. Lich could be holding on to something nasty just to spite us. So Rob D. Raven's heading up to heal up. You want to take this Chaos fight?
Yeah, as soon as he gets done making certain that everybody's topped off on health and good to go.
Okay, he makes the switch and he heads in.
And oh wow, okay, so we have alternate end fights on tonight. So tonight is 8 Garlands and Chaos.
Okay.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I've actually never seen this. I know it exists, but I didn't realize that you have 2 different fights. I thought they were both in the same screen.
You have this fight, you have the Double Dragon fight, which I believe is Tiamat and Carry. And then you have the Fun Dead, and we'll discuss that one later. Right now, we got Dueling Chaoses on the screen here, as Luffy has also pulled a Chaos, and the question is, who's going to get the first one in? It's going to be Luffy, it looks like.
Okay, get your GGs out in chat for Luffy, finishing with an on-screen time of about 38 minutes and 17 seconds or so, the first one on stream. So let's see how Luffy is doing compared to the field. We do have other runners running this that are not on screen right now.
I have the list right here in front of me. First place off stream was Burt Reynolds at 33 minutes even. Groggy Dog in second at 35:34. And please excuse any pawing you hear behind me. My cats are apparently fighting each other. Aylmarkin came in third at 35.45. Rube's 000 at 36.31. Fry Teeth at 37.06. Luffy in sixth place, 38.08, an official racetime.gg time. And then Rob D. Raven 10 seconds later at 38.18.
Wow, what a tight pack of times. And sub 40, just like we were saying earlier. So that just goes to show the quality of runners that we've got here. There are still 5 people running this race, and I'm sure they're not far behind.
Yeah, because it looks like Life's about to get his 4th orb lit, and Jay Scheidell's doing the same thing down in his corner, so I expect them in about another 10 minutes or so.
Okay, so we're joined in the booth by our on-screen first and second places, which is Luffy DV and Rob D. Raven. Luffy, I'll start with you. Okay, so how did you feel about the seed? The booth by our on-screen first and second places, which is Luffy DV and Rob D. Raven. Luffy, I'll start with you.
Levels weren't too bad to get early on.
GG's, how did you feel about the seed?
Pretty linear. I liked it. Jeez, man, that was
watching. We thought it was interesting. Of course, there was no easy black magic sweeper at level 1, and I think there was lit 3 at level 2. Watching. What approach did you take in terms of just getting your feet under easy black magic sweeper at level 1? The board.
And I wanted to pick up that Lightning 3 axe that I saw in Canaria. It was pretty cheap, so I wanted to run around and try to grab some money real fast. So once I got that, I knew I could take out Garland, take out Pirates, and be able to kind of get some early levels and get some items and figure out where to go from there. So once I did that, it was pretty good. And then the trap tiles and Earth weren't too bad. I got stolen by the Hot Wings at first, which kind of sucked, but was able to get some levels after that, a little bit safer in the top right on the Cerberuses and Wizogres till I could take out the Rock Holes to get the black belt to 42.
Yeah, we were loving that black belt, looking like Hercules after the rock gold grind. You mentioned that the seed was a little bit linear, and that is how it looked from the perspective that we had. We could see that for most of the early game, the screens were very similar, and in many cases, screen for screen. Were there any early decisions that you made that you thought might give you a leg up on the competition?
I mean, not really. When you see how it plays out and you get those tiles early in Earth Cave like that, you didn't have to dig down in Ice or dig down in Volcano a little bit lower to try to find your grind. So I figured everybody was probably doing something fairly similar early on. So it was just trying to pick the right decision on where to go after that. Ice Cave, ordeals, what happened.
Okay, well, I got to say, it was a pleasure to watch you race and great time with 38 minutes and 8 seconds on screen. How about you, Shadow? Did you have any questions for Luffy before we get some thoughts from Rob?
You pretty much covered everything that I had in mind, so let's go ahead and let Rob get a few words in here while we have dueling chaoses happening over on the screens.
Sure, yeah, I don't want to take too much attention away from the screen, but I just wanted to get some thoughts from these runners. So, Rob, how did you feel? Did you know that you were kind of ahead of the pack in terms of what's on screen here?
I wasn't. I was thinking, like, these are extremely fast flags, as you can tell. I mean, by the fact that everybody. I mean, we had 5 finishers before Luffy and I dropped the fit duns, but it was a really fast seed. But I was just going I'm like, you know what, go till I win. I'm like going into Sky, and I'm looking over. I'm like, there's no duns yet. I'm in Sky. Holy, but am I really that far? Am I really that far ahead?
Yeah, well, and GG's to Life Reboot, by the way, finishing Chaos off with a time of 42 minutes and 54 seconds, just 4 minutes behind Luffy on screen. So fantastic performance by Life Reboot. So Rob, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm a duckling, as you may or may not know, and I pretty much just abuse this position to pick the brains of fast runners and figure out how to go faster. So same question to you that we asked to Luffy. Early game, you didn't have the black magic sweeper at level 1. What's your thought process?
Money. Pure money. Like finding those light 3 axes early on, that immediately told me hit an easy treasure spot. Go hit Cardia. It's a great place to get some early treasure, and with a lower risk, and just try to get enough to try. Like you saw, I picked up got enough to pick up 3 light axes, and when I did that, it was just okay, pirates, and then just kind of at that point, once I got pirates and then Garland down, it was just follow the key items. Go for your free items. Take down fiends if they're easy. If you're close and easy, that's kind of pretty much all I did.
Yeah, well, you did well, and in fact, talking about pirates, you and Luffy had pirates on the screen at the same time and had lit 3 tearing through them both at the same time. So when I say that things were screen for screen, I'm not joking. It really was like that for a lot of the seed. So, and once again, so that same question again, were there any decision points that you hit where you thought, I'm going to do this because maybe the others won't?
I don't think it was so much of I will do this because I don't think anyone else will. I mean, maybe when I trying to think here, when I dove ordeals really quick, I might have thought, well, they might have gone there. And I definitely when I went to Lufane, I was like, you know what, I'm taking the risk. Let's try it. Mm-hmm. Because normally that's a long check for one item, especially when it can potentially be a dud.
Yeah, well, and we've got Life Reboot. I'm going to get a few words from him in just a second. But I think you were the party that had the fighter Black Mage 2-man. Am I right about that?
Yeah, so basically the moment my black belt went down, because I was going to go 3-man, the moment the black belt went down, I went, I'm not reviving him. It's not worth it. 2-man grind with my gear is good enough. You
weren't worried that you didn't have fast and temper?
No, not at all. Because with this flag set, the level 1 fiends, the first fiends aren't they're dangerous, but they're not that dangerous. And when I've finally routed in and got tail done, and then moved over to Gaia to get my cube, I was just like, you know what? I knew by that time that fast and temper were both an 8. I was like, you know what? I'll just promote, go to Gaia, grab my level 8 spells, then go grab my cube and go. And so I was just not at that point, fast and temper were kind of luxuries.
Okay, well, I have to say I'm impressed. I would not have thought to try that. I would have been scared that I wouldn't have been able to do enough damage, but it worked for you. So GG's, and thanks for teaching me something. Any questions from you, Shadowed, for Rob before we go over to LRB and Jay Scheidel?
Well, I was going to ask about the 2-man strats myself, but that all just got explained in perfectly good detail, so no need to repeat ground we've already been over.
Okay, fair enough. A man who calls it like it is. I appreciate that. Okay, so Life Reboot, thanks for joining us. Thanks for going on stream and showing off your skills. I think you were the first to get the cube. I'm not 100% sure on that, but there were some things early on that made it look like it could be anyone's race. Many times there were screen for screen. I mentioned that Luffy and Rob had simultaneous pirates. Well, you, Life Reboot, and Jay Scheidel had simultaneous pirates on your side of the screen. So it was really funny to watch. How did you feel when you got started up and you saw that the black magic wasn't very good, but you knew you had an airship? What was your thought process like?
Hi, first of all, GG everyone. Yeah, when I saw that Warp and Confuse were my options for black magic level 1, I thought, okay, Confuse pirate strats, let's go. I'm going to do that before I do Garland. But in general, these are tough flags for me. you get an airship, you can go wherever you want flags. I get really discouraged. And when I found the slab, completed the chain for a katana, I knew I was way behind. Additionally, once I risked it with the Bane diving Kraken, I knew I was a complete dungeon behind. So GG everyone. Thanks for racing.
Yeah, well, it's our pleasure to watch, and I just want to say, don't go to sleep on Confused, because Rob dropped that on Carrie, and it worked. So that was fun to see. You don't always get to see that. Yeah, all right. So maybe you were feeling a little bit behind after you saw that sequence of events. Was there anything that you thought about? This is a decision I can use to take a risk and maybe try and snatch victory from the jaws of defeat?
No, not necessarily. It's these flags are so fast all the time. Really, making decisions to either like forego opening boxes, forego checking all the magic shops. It seems to be the strategies that win these flags. So yeah, I am glad to have placed third. Once again, GG Luffy and Rob Traven and Jay Shido.
Yeah, definitely great sportsmanship. Any questions from you, Shadowed, before we go over to Jay Scheidel?
A question and then also a comment, as we have the last of our runners have finished while our interviews are going on. So, Luffy, question: what's the worst, or not? Yeah, excuse me, Life Reboot. Sorry, I'm too many L's in this chat. What's the worst boss? Kraken 1 to seed or the final boss tower in Final Fantasy VI?
That's a very good question. I'll go with Kraken in this seed, let's say.
Great stuff. Yes, of course. Life Reboot on Life Reboot's channel is doing some run-throughs of games that haven't played before, Final Fantasy VI being one of them. And I'll just take a second before we start in with Jay Scheidel. By the way, I mean, most of the people here have streams. Check them out, Life Reboot being one of them, but also Luffy DV, Rob D. Raven, and Jay Scheidel as well. So if you're looking for some entertainment, check them out. Let's go to Jay Scheidel. Jay Scheidel, welcome to the winner's circle. Of course, you did place fourth on stream, but you did not come in last. How did you feel while you were going through? Did you know you were behind, or did you think you were doing well? What was your mind state like?
About 10 to 15 minutes in, I knew I was behind. I did not have a good early game, and these seeds are so short that the first 10 minutes do it, basically. So
yeah, well, you're definitely right that starting strong always works out. And I've asked this to everybody, so I'm going to ask it to you. How did you get started when you saw that there was no easy black magic sweeper at level 1?
I went straight to Provoca, then realized I didn't have level 2 magic to do anything with, so went back to get a grind.
Like maybe I can punch imps. that was the play, because of course I think it was Lit 3 at level 2 black magic, so you know that'll get the job done. Yeah. So okay, so you went to Provoca, you got some things done. Were there any decisions that you made that you felt might have been tricky, or did you feel like the rest of the runners here that it was pretty much just a linear seed?
Yeah, I didn't feel it was linear because I apparently last location both the cube and the chime, but otherwise, just I don't know. I didn't make a firm decision up front, so I kept whiffling back and forth between two places, and I just slowed down.
Yeah, that'll often do it. The cost of decision switching can be high, but I like to go to Sky early, so that would have been troublesome for me too, to be locked out of that for so long. Shadowed, any questions for you for Jay Scheidel?
Just the only thing I could think of is when you saw that you had the cube and the chime both in Gaia off, one in the shop and one off the bottle. At that point, are you sitting there thinking, okay, could I have managed this a couple minutes earlier, or was it just, as everyone else mentioned, the fact that just the decisions earlier on and how linear everything was, just one of those things you just shake your head and press on with it?
I knew 20 minutes before I found them that they had to be there because I was down to my last locations anyway. It was basically when I found the worthless katana and everything else, I'm like, okay, I should have gone somewhere else.
Yeah, fair enough. I know that's happened to pretty much everyone who's played this randomizer more times than we care to count.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we've got a great community of runners, and I feel like we really showed that tonight with this race. We're going to do a wrap up in just a second, but Shadow, do you have the schedule for the upcoming events on stream?
Yes, we do. And I also want to take a second before we get into paying the sponsors to give a shout out to Goats Pirate, who finished in 11th place in our race at a time of 48:25. And Zero Cool 512, who finished in 12th place at 49:39. With that, everyone has finished the race and there are no forfeits tonight, which is always a good sign to see. Now, as for cleaning up some administrative business, our upcoming events, Thursday night on one of the speed gaming channels that's yet to be determined at 10:30, we have our Thursday night community race. The Duckling Boot Camp will be on RPG Limit Break Sunday evening at 10 p.m. Eastern. This is our Week 8 reveal. The Duckling Derby coming up in 2 weeks, which, if I'm not mistaken, about 60% of us in the booth are going to be running in. So if you're new to the community, feel free to stick around, join in on that, and learn with the rest of us and see how well you do. And if you liked what you saw with these flags, then you're in luck, because the Tournament of Hope, starting on January 31st, it's a one-day tournament, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. It will be held on Randomania, and it's the flags that you just saw here. So if you liked what you see then, make a note on your calendar and stop by at the last day of January and see what else you can find.
Great stuff. Well, this, ladies and gentlemen, has been a Final Fantasy Randomizer presentation on Randomania. Big shout outs to Randomania for being our host tonight, and to our other broadcast partners on Twitch as well. We couldn't do it without the stage, and we really appreciate it. Want to give a shout out to our race crew. We've got Dwight on Restream. Dwight's been an absolute champion over the past couple of weeks in terms of restreaming, and we really appreciate the organization. Somebody said ahead of this race today that it's the first time everyone's been ready on time before the dropping of the gate. And a lot of that goes from what happens with the restreamer. So big shout outs to Dwight for that. We've also got our trackers in the back, keeping track of things and making sure that Shadow and I don't trip up. That's Jat2980. And new to tracking today was Chanigan helping Chat out. So we really appreciate them lighting up the orbs. Here on commentary, I'm RockSolid84. I'm a new duckling in this community, like many of the other people racing today. And joined by first-time commentator from Shadowed Flames. So big shout out to him. Everybody's put so much work into this. We really appreciate you coming by and checking it out. If you're interested, come and check out our Discord. Talk to us. We're really friendly, and we always love to see new people. But that's going to do it for us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us. I've been RockSolid84. Until next time, keep your head up, and don't forget to go fast.